Okay, everybody, sorry about that. Some technical snafus there. I had logged on to my personal Facebook, for live, but we'll give everyone a chance to jump on here. But for those new drivers and those who don't remember, we do have John Wilbur. He's the CEO of Roadmaster Group. He's been leading us for the past 9 years now. But the last few months, he's been heavily involved with Dasky and working with them, and so that's why you haven't seen much of John lately. But so we're excited to have him here with us today. If you are driving, once again, we just remind you, please turn this off. Be safe first. Don't jeopardize your careers and jobs. For sure. This will be recorded and broadcast later on at Facebook and on YouTube. John, we're getting people just flooding in now, so let's give just a few more seconds for other people to join us. We've got over 20, right now, and we'll get started here in about 15 seconds here.
Okay.
Hey, everybody, can you guys hear us okay? John, do you want to just kind of introduce yourself, and then as people log on, make sure that we can hear you okay?
This is John Wilbur, testing 1, 2, 3.
Okay, John, we've got about 27 people on, right now, so I think we can go ahead and get started.
All right, thank you, Mike. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining. Also, appreciate the flexibility. I know you guys do this a few hours later on Thursdays. I appreciate the accommodation to my schedule. Very happy to be back. As Mike said, I really enjoy doing these Facebook Live events, and it's been a couple of months since I've been able to do one, and really happy to be back. Normally I use these to provide kind of a business update and also to answer questions that come in either before or during the event. Today I'm going to first address just kind of current events before we get into our normal business update. I think just what everything going on in the world is pretty important that we address that. First and foremost, regarding the pandemic, I just want to thank all first responders around the country, including all truck drivers. You've heard me say the last time I was on Facebook Live that truck drivers are first responders, not just the ones that work for Roadmaster and Tri-State, but all truck drivers have kept America moving when most of America was closed. So I think we finally were able to shine a light on truck drivers as part of the first responders network around this country, and they've done a really patriotic job, and I just want to thank everybody for that. Secondly, I want to address just the social unrest and the situation we have in the country today following the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. The easy path for corporate leaders and for corporations would be to say nothing. That's not our path. That's not the path that we've ever taken, nor will we ever take. And the best way for me to address it is to reiterate our core values and principles. We have zero tolerance for police brutality, racial discrimination, or social injustice of any type. And that's the way it's always been, and that's the way it'll always be here. We also have zero tolerance for looting, property destruction, and violence of any type. That's always been our position, and that always will be. Our hope with everything that's going on is that we heal together, and that we beat this pandemic, and that we right all wrongs. That's a big wish list, but that's certainly what we're hoping for in terms of the country coming together today in the middle of two crises. With that, I think it's a good time to step back for everybody and realize the one thing we haven't talked about yet is the unemployment that is facing this country. It's a magnitude that we've certainly never seen before. And the way we do our part, I think, is to certainly think about charity at this standpoint, whether it's places of worship or organizations that have missions to help those in need. So, I just think everybody should take a look. If they're able, in a position to help a charity of their choice, this is a really good time to do that and to double up. I reiterate our company's support of the Folds of Honor organization, which provides scholarships to military families and dependents, particularly military veterans who were either wounded or even killed in service. So everybody certainly has their own choice. We are proud to support Folds of Honor. We have their logo on all of our trucks around the country, and that's just one of many organizations that are out there helping today. And I just think that's something we all ought to think about given the situation in this country. As far as our business update is concerned, in 2020, we were looking for a real good year. We started out the first quarter in great shape, right on track. Obviously, our second quarter, April, May, and June, has been impacted by both COVID and also the social unrest, but primarily the pandemic. We did make we've had to make a lot of moves to weather that storm or storms. We've cut a lot of costs. We've just been really tight on any discretionary costs, travel and other things like that. I appreciate everybody sacrificing that regard. On the other side of the equation, we did institute a driver appreciation pay for all of our company drivers and all of our owner-operators for the months of April and May. As we've taken that off now as we're starting to reopen, but that was just something we wanted to do to show our appreciation for you not only working during this time, but in many cases going into hot environments as it relates to the pandemic. So appreciate your efforts in that regard, and we were happy to provide that little extra pay bump for all of our drivers. I'd also like to thank our management team who continuing to sacrifice in the form of 20 to 30% pay reductions, and we did that so that we didn't have to make further cuts elsewhere within our staff. So definitely like to thank all of our management team for the sacrifice that they were willing to make there. And then a big move is not unlike most companies, we have been working almost 100% remote as far as our office staff is concerned. Obviously, our drivers and our mechanics and technicians have been going about their job in a normal course of business, but everybody else pretty much has been working from remote. We have a few people in the offices now on a voluntary basis, but we've been working remote. And one of the most interesting things is we really haven't missed a beat productivity-wise. So that's something we're watching very closely. We are studying and hope to bring out in the near future, a revamped work policy that includes more of a remote environment. Again, we did it out of necessity, but it's turned out that our staff has just done a fantastic job in adapting to this environment, and our surveys have indicated that many people like it and prefer it. So we're going to do our best to try to incorporate more of that in the future, even post-pandemic environment. The other thing I'd just like to say, the things that we haven't changed, we are still on track for our normal equipment refreshment program for 2020. We're bringing in almost 100 trucks. Over half of those are already in. We're bringing over 150 trailers. So all of that has stayed on track. So we're going to retain one of the youngest fleets of any of our competitors and one of the youngest fleets in America. So we're proud to have the strength not only in Roadmaster, but in the Dasky organization to stay on track with our equipment refreshment during this crisis. I'll stop just for a second. Mike, did you have any questions you wanted to? Sure.
Well, there is, and there's a bunch of people that say hi to you. Got a compliment on your cabinet behind you. There. This says fun to see. Rose Bates. Hi, John. Glad to see you back on Facebook Live.
Hey, Rose.
Pink camo. I'm not sure who that is. I recognize the Facebook handle, but are the office personnel back in the big house in Joplin? If not, can we Zoom with the ladies to check our binders?
Great question. Officially, we're not back in the Joplin office, even though it's always open. It is open now for staff that prefers to go in there and work there, maintaining social distance and other guidelines as far as when they're in there. If I think we have the capability to have Ring Central, similar to Zoom, Ring Central meetings with anybody, in staff and drivers. So just talk to your dispatcher or whoever you want to communicate with, and we can typically set that in. And they don't have to be in the big house in Joplin to have that kind of form of communication with you. We essentially have that capability from a remote home office standpoint or from any of our offices. So yes, if you'd like to communicate in that manner with any of our office staff, just reach out to them. We should have the capability to do that, whether they're in the office or at home.
Rosa Charles, I'm not certain exactly what she's asking, but in reference to new equipment, will this give us an opportunity to get new trucks? Maybe she's asking whether they personally will be.
Yeah, I can't address anybody's particular where they're going to get in one of the new trucks or not. I know that's always a hot topic and a delicate situation. We always do our best. First and foremost, what we try to do is refresh our fleet on schedule every year. And then, to make sure we keep all of our trucks under 500,000 miles to the extent possible and just keep a really young fleet. Who gets a new truck and who doesn't, it's more of the circumstances as to when they land and where drivers are and where trucks are. We certainly do move higher mileage trucks into the solo fleet or into the local fleets, so we don't exceed the 500,000 miles too early. So I can't address any one person or one team's situation, but we'll bring in a lot of new trucks. That's
what John's saying is, CEO, this is above his pay grade to determine who gets the new trucks.
Way above my pay grade. Way above. Yeah.
Anyway, I think we're good for now.
Okay. So from a business update back to that, I think here's what I see. I see that May, which we just finished, is probably the trough from a Roadmaster business standpoint. I think it was still a decent month for us, but I think it will represent the trough of this pandemic impact on our business. So I see June. We're already seeing June recover, so we should be really starting to hit our stride in July and the third quarter. If you look at our different business segments, the military seems to be coming back first now, but the military was the first to slow down. Our commercial business is probably going to be the last to come back and probably is more in a July timeframe, but it was also the last to slow down. A lot of that related to either wastes or commercial explosives, or because they're tied to industrial manufacturing or mining activity, which is just gearing up now, and so it takes a while before it runs through that supply chain. So that's how I see it in general. Is I think May was the worst of it. June is getting better, and we should be hitting kind of close to all 8 cylinders come into the July time frame. I definitely want to just again thank all of our drivers and our staff and our technicians for the incredible effort during this period. We are weathering this storm better than I expected, better than the management team expected, thanks to your efforts. And we're going to come out of this, I think, pretty strong. Really, I'd summarize it to say that I think we're going to increase our market share in every sector that we operate in. Not that we're exploiting or taking advantage of it. The situation is just we were better prepared coming into this. We've made better moves while we were in this situation, and we're going to come out of it stronger. We're already seeing market share increases in certain sectors. So I think that we're going to come out of this enhancing our #1 position, our market leading position in all of our sectors. So, will the second half of this year be as strong as we had originally planned pre-pandemic? Probably not. But I think that the third quarter is going to be significantly better than the second quarter, and the fourth quarter, again, also be relatively strong. So I think we're going to finish the year in a pretty good position. But obviously, overall, this year is not going to be what we expected due to the pandemic. But overall, our company's weathering it very well, and that's both for Roadmaster and Dasky, all the Dasky organization. So we're very fortunate. If you read the newspapers or the news, you see a lot of trucking companies not only not doing as well, they're going out of business. That's not our situation at all. We'll come out of this very strong, and I think you'll really start to see that this month, and particularly as we get into the midsummer months. So that's really all I had from a business update standpoint. I'm going to check with Mike to see if we have any questions. I wrap up again just to say thank you for everybody, particularly our first responders out there, and everybody, the effort they've made to help us get through this. And we're just about through this, I think, from a pandemic standpoint, I hope. So again, thank you, and appreciate everybody who's been able to listen in or look in on this. And again, it's really, I'm great to be back. Mike's done a fair job replacing Riley, who usually does my social media Facebook Live events, but he's still got a little bit to learn, but we're getting there. So anyway, Mike, any other issues or questions, the group?
Not really. I mean,
Okay.
I think everybody's, just listening,
Yeah.
and excited to see you. So.
Yeah, great. And to all the drivers that, as Mike mentioned early on, that I haven't met yet, for those that have been with us for a long time, I've prided myself on getting to know all of the drivers out there, particularly when we used to hold classes here in Arizona, but even after that. And I have a open phone, an open email, and an open door policy when I have an office. But if you ever need to get a hold of me, my email address is easy to get. My cell phone is easy to get. Email or text me is the best way you ever want to talk to me. I always respond back to our drivers and happy to talk to them. And to all the drivers out there that I do know, Mike's mentioned a bunch of them. Great to see you and hear from you again, and hope to see you soon. So thanks a lot, everybody. Really appreciate the time.